name is Roman, and today I'm going to tell you about legalization of weed and how it could impact the economy. But before that, I would like to ask you one question. Who of you have ever tried weed? But don't be panicked, don't scare, just tell it. There is nothing here. So yeah, as you can see, at least half of the people have ever tried. Also, I'll show you why, for what, and for whom is good to sell weed, and we'll look a little bit deeper in this topic. So let's start. Why actually good to smoke weed? First thing is you can see that cannabis unlocks your creative potential. People who were smoking maybe know what I mean, but a study found that cannabis causes psychometric symptoms which could lead users to make and to connect ideas that in reality are not connected at all. Next thing is that tree can be used to treat depression. A study conducted by Rudolph in Neuroscience Institute found that weed reduces the negative bias in emotional depressing, which means that weed could be used to help people cope with terrible depression that they have connected with their bad life situations, maybe they broke with somebody, etc. Next thing is that cannabis keeps you calm, cool, and collected. What does it mean? Researchers interviewed Swiss inmates, prisoners who were smoking weed, and they tell that this thing is, they call it the social pacifier, because it's really a peace fight for everybody. It decreases your aggressive level, and it also makes you feel better, even if you're in prison. Smoking weed can help you to fall asleep. Everyone knows that really after you smoke a joint, it's really hard not to fall asleep. And for majority of people, it's actually the way to fall asleep. It was really weird for me when I read that in US, at least 40% of people who smoke weed smoke it just to fall asleep. For me, it's a little bit weird because we are all young, it's not so hard, but even adult people tend to smoke it in order to just fall asleep. So next thing is that smoking weed makes you worry less. Why is it? An article published in 2010 also suggested that marijuana alleviates symptoms of anxiety, so people feel more relaxed, not so stressed, and really, even if the hard days are coming, weed will help you, believe me. What is more, sparkling up, it's a great social activity. Could you remember the time you smoked weed with somebody and it was the worst evening of your life? I don't think so. Every time you smoke weed, just magical things happening. So the next thing is that getting high doesn't give you a hangover. All of you know that after a Friday party with your friends, you woke up and you think that this beer or the next beer was really not worth it. And but after weed, when you're waking up, you just think that you feel even more better than the day before, and the next day, if you smoke, you'll also feel better than you felt before. And it shows that it's really worth it if it comes into hangovers, because after having a crazy night at the club, believe me, nothing's going to happen in the next day. And the last thing is that marijuana makes food taste 1,000,000 times better. I think people who ever tried this know that even like the cheapest chocolate you can get in the shop, the worst cheese, the worst hamburger could taste 1,000,000 times better. Believe me, it's just so delicious. Also, it's probably like, but you're gonna ask, why is it so? A study published in Nature Neuroscience found that thanks to weed effect on the brain's cannabinoid receptors, is that food appears more appetizing as a result of heightened sense of smell. So every time, whenever you smoke, after that, everything will taste 1,000,000 times better. So let's move on. Why we should legalize it? First thing is that no one has ever died of marijuana overdose. It's scientific fact that you may think it's like smoking a lot of weed could like make you die in like 1 month or 2 months, but believe me, nobody has ever died from weed, and this is the best example of an let's say drug which does not kill you at all. Next thing is that, is that it could really help you to overcome from some tablets that you're taking. You know that if you're having a headache and the doctor prescribes you a lot of pills and etc. But did you think of the fact that after taking every second pill, you need to take one more to kill the, let's say, results from the previous one? So if you're thinking about like killing pain, the best thing you could try is wheat, because it's killing everything, really, it's killing just everything. Okay, the next thing, keeping it illegal isn't stopping anyone. As you can see, wheat is not 100% legal in Poland here, but as you can see, like 60% of people have tried it, and I don't know how many people still smoking it here, but I think that like, keeping it illegal, it's not stopping anybody, and government, they are having additional costs for prisons, for collecting people for smoking weed and etc. So I think that keeping it illegal is just unlogical to the country at all. So the next thing is that so many successful people have smoking weed. How do you think? Who is like? But you all know that Snoop Dogg, for example, he is a crazy smoker. Who else you think is smoking weed? Just one, two names. Yeah, he's also doing. He's an old guy, but I have a couple of examples of famous people. Snoop Dogg, according to him, he smokes 81 blunts a day. 81. How could a person smoke so much weed? For me, it's like, he even claimed that he have smoked in White House, and once he smoked so bad that even the fire department was called. Another example is Megan Fox. We all know Megan Fox. She's a nice actor, but she told to the magazine JQ that she hoped that they legalize weed, and when they will, I will be the first person in line to buy my pack of joints. So it's really kind of weird. Also, Brad Pitt, this guy was an artist at rolling joints. He said that it was my passion just to roll them, to make every next joint better than the previous one. But then he stopped smoking when he became a father, because this is not the best thing to do if you're a father, to smoke weed. And next thing is that marijuana is much safer than already known drugs. As you can see on this table, cannabis stands much more lower than, for example, alcohol, than cocaine, than other drugs. As you can see from the table, harm caused from cannabis is like 3 times less than from alcohol, who I think all of us drinks a couple of times. Having a beer, having a wine, having another thing, I don't know, gin tonic or something like that, believe me, it's much more worse than just smoke a blunt with your friend and feel happy about that. So let's move to the impact on the economy, because we are in SGH and it's time to talk about economy. So first thing, illegal marijuana in US is a 36 billion year industry. For me, these numbers are impressive, but the next fact, legal marijuana could be a $100 billion industry. In comparison, $100 billion, it's like, it's 2 budgets that Ukraine makes yearly. Believe me, it's not a lot, but at the same time, 100 billion just on weed, for me, it's pretty impressive. Legalization could reduce marijuana prices. I don't know if you're up on prices of marijuana here in Poland, but legalization of weed will could drop it by even 100 times. You're gonna ask how if it costs, for example, 50, 60 zloty, how it could be like 5 or 50 cents. Believe me, it could. Because if people tax all the weed they sell and you're gonna pay all the taxes, it's gonna be like much more profitable for your country to sell weed. Next thing is that it could create new jobs in workplaces. I have a bright example from US. By 2015, wheat industry gave a possibility to approximately 300,000 people to work. Now, only in Colorado State, there are more than 90,000 people who are just working in wheat industry, and these numbers are impressive. Also, revenues from green market will increase GDP. As you know, lower unemployment, higher tax revenues, and higher cash flow will increase country GDP. This is all we're like learning for a couple of years, so I think it's pretty obvious. And next thing is taxing medical marijuana brings in cash. I have a couple of examples from US state. For example, the city of Oakland collected 1.2 million in taxes from medical marijuana. This is nearly 3% of all tax revenues. The state of Colorado collected 5 million in taxes from medical marijuana businesses. In Denver, they collected $3.5 million in taxes, which is more than they get from Starbucks coffee shops, which is really weird. Okay, so let's move on to. Okay, so let's move on to the final part. I am actually a smoker too, and the reason why I choose this topic is in some way it's connected to me. But to those, I am not encourage you to try this. I am not encourage you to smoke marijuana every day. But believe me, legalization would be a beautiful thing. Thank you.